There we go. Oh, fuck. All right. There we go. How we doing? Where's my audio at? I go. All right. Check the audio. Checking audio. All right. Not too bad. All right. What time? We got 4 minutes. Let me see. All right. All right. Okay. Got anybody out there this morning? Well, I'm not sure. Let's see if I can close that. Kind of break. Okay. Uh-oh. Hmm. Yeah, I knew. Yeah. All right. 501. There we go. All right. And there we go. All right. Good morning, everybody. Everybody on the way. Getting ready. Get those headphones off. They confuse me. You guys know I'm kind of new at this streaming business. Trying to set things up. And in those headphones, when I speak into the microphone, there's a few milliseconds delay before I hear it. And so when I'm talking to you, I kind of get confused when I'm hearing myself talking those headphones. So I haven't quite figured that out. So I take them off until I can figure out what's going on. One of these days I'll get it right. Anyway, good morning. Good morning. This is Middleclassbubba here in the morning. Seeing if anybody's out there and wants to get motivated in their getting ready for their new week, going to work and starting a new week. Let's take a look at the weather. I'm going to have to do it with the old phone and give y'all an update because I don't have it figured out yet how to post it for you, but I think we're going to have a pretty good day. I'll concentrate on the Atlanta area weather, since that's probably who I don't know how to do a regional, but I can just do it this way. Looks like we have a little rain coming in later this week, but the first half of the week, today and tomorrow, is looking pretty good, and then chances of rain increase through Friday and then begin to slack off on Saturday again. but it looks like a solid week after that. After today, I see that my stream's running a little behind. Well, good morning, everybody out there. Make sure you get a good breakfast this morning. What the hell? Get a good breakfast this morning. And I did it this morning, man. There's all coffee cake up there, and I couldn't help myself at those sweetbread. Now my stomach is not feeling all that well, so when I get done here this morning, I guess I need to go figure out some kind of protein to eat, maybe just a piece of cheese or something. And of course, I got this cup of coffee to start my day, and then this one will last me the rest of the day there, and I may not even finish it. But the reason I like to get started at 5 a.m., and I only do this on Monday morning, and unless, there comes a request where somebody'd like it on a different day and there's a big enough demand for it to be on another day or multiple days. I'm just doing it on, Monday mornings at 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. And the reason I do it from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. is because there's a particular show I like to listen to on the radio on Monday mornings. It starts at 6 and it's on Sirius XM, the Patriot channel, and a guy named Mike Slater. Now, they do talk about politics some, but it's based a lot on faith, the politics of faith or whatever. I think he does a podcast calls that. But anyway, at 6 o'clock in the morning on Monday morning, he has a half hour. The very beginning of his show, he has a segment where he talks about being grateful, and people call in and they talk about the things they're grateful for, and it's good for me to listen in on that because it gets my juices flowing to think about the things that I'm grateful for. So that's the reason I do it. And plus, this is meant this time of the hour is for guys who are out there really getting after it, trying to make things happen. And most of the time they're a supervisor or a foreman or somebody, a field leadership. I spent years in the field working in safety project management, and I never could get into the habit of not being in the field, taking the office position. And I had, I was corporate safety. I was a general manager for a demolition company years ago, truck terminal manager years ago. My first career was in trucking. And so I've always been in the field, and I would always be in the field with the guys. I'd be on site at 7 o'clock every day for one job site, and watch them go through their daily routine, doing their pre-task planning and their safety topics and equipment inspections, and then checking with the supervisor or whoever was on project manager, whoever was on the job, and kind of get a catch up on what was going on as far as what was going on in the field on that project. And then move on to the next one, where I would just do a review of the job and spend my time on the job sites almost every day, and then come in and catch up, file reports and all that to the to my reporting uplines, typically the owner and project manager, estimator, that kind of person who needs to be aware of what was going on their jobs in the field. Anyway, that's why I get up early in the mornings, and sometimes I tell people I like to watch it gets kind of tough in the summertime, but I like to, some people talk about enjoying the sunrise and some people talk about enjoying the sunset. Well, I like to talk about enjoying both of them. But like I said, it gets kind of hard in in the summertime, when the sun doesn't go down till damn near 9 o'clock now or something like that. Boy, come 9 o'clock, my body starts yawning. Yeah, I made myself yawn, but anyway. Starting about 9 o'clock at night, boy, it gets heavy duty, the yawning and all that, getting ready for having the need for sleep. But anyway, excuse me, I'm still getting things going this morning. The old sinuses cleared up and got the coffee drink going, but I've been up since about 4:20, made some coffee, ate that sweet cake. Man, I wish I wouldn't have ate that thing now, but I was hungry and I knew I needed to get down into the man cave and get this stream up and going so I can meet my commitment to be with you guys in the morning. We did cover the weather report. Gonna be good weather today and tomorrow, and then come Wednesday, it looks like we got some rain coming in. 50% chance, that kind of thing. You know how it is. Half of us get wet, half of us won't. But the chances of rain extend through next Tuesday. So if you got some stuff that needs to be done that rain might interfere with, you might want to think about taking a look at where you got your forces directed today. And they should already be directed. You should have already been doing that last night. Should have been doing that, Saturday or last night, getting ready for today. It's damn near impossible to wake up on a Monday morning and start directing forces with any effectiveness. Everybody ends up getting on the job late and being befuddled and everything else because you've changed. They're trying to. The more planning, the more advanced planning you can give your crews and your team, the better they'll be able to perform on the projects. Hell, I've been in situations where on Monday morning, the project manager or the field manager is directing guys that were on a job last week, were intending to going back today, but they have an emergency startup today, and they're sending guys to a job that they have no idea what is going on the job, don't have the documents, and they're standing around, and then the GC supervisor, he shows up, and it's a new job he wasn't expecting it. Ends up being a mess. So the more planning and the more time you can give your guys advance notice and stuff like that, the better off your project will be, more effective your team will look, and the happier they'll be instead of running around grunting trying to figure stuff out at this time in the morning, trying to figure out where to get the manpower and all that. So that, like I said, the more notice you give these guys on what their project is for the day, the better off they are. But anyway, that's part of the good morning. We talked about the weather report. Along with weather, we are moving into warmer weather, guys. The spring weather we're going to have it a little while longer. But we're starting to get into some temps and stuff like that, and where we need to start paying attention to some, heat-related illnesses. And let me see if I've got this worked up here. It's see if oh, look at that. I'm like I said, I'm still trying to work on this stuff. Working in outdoor and indoor heat environments, and there's all kinds of things we've got to learn to prevent heat illnesses. Today, all over the country, millions of workers are exposed to heat in the workplaces. Most outdoor fatalities, 50 to 70%, occur in the first few days of working in warm or hot environments because the body needs to build tolerance to heat gradually over time. The process of building tolerance is called heat acclimation, or it could be cold acclimation. Lack of acclimation represents a major risk for fatal outcomes. And there's all kinds of heat-related stuff out there, guys. Let's talk about what a heat-related illness is. In a warm environment, especially when physical activity, the body relies on the ability to get rid of excess heat or heat dissipation to maintain a healthy internal body temperature. Heat dissipation naturally happens through sweating and increased blood flow to the skin. Workers cool down rapidly if the external environmental heat and physical activity are reduced. If heat dissipation does not happen quickly enough, the internal body temperature keeps rising, and the worker may experience symptoms that include thirst, irritability, a rash, cramping, heat exhaustion, or heat stroke. Now, heat stroke is the most severe heat-related illness. Workers suffering from heat stroke experience mental dysfunction such as unconsciousness, confusion, disorientation, and slurred speech. This is a medical emergency. When you get into that kind of thing, you got to try and cool the workers down and call 911. Do not delay in that because that's a serious illness. How can we prevent heat-related illnesses? Well, the body has to cool off. And here you are this morning. What are you having for breakfast? Are you having a cup of coffee? Is that enough for fluid to get you hydrated? Should you be drinking water? I had a job one time. Let me flip this back. I had a job one time, and it was always hot, man. We were doing a power plant demo, and the guys would come in, and it wasn't mandatory, but the encouragement was that we all, as we had our safety meeting, is to completely drink a bottle of water before we went into the field. That may not be a bad practice. Maybe not today in this weather, but as it gets warmer and warmer, as you stand around and you're having your PTP meeting or your safety meeting, or on the way to work, encourage everybody to go ahead and get one bottle of water in them. Because throughout the day, the recommended is 8 glasses of water a day, and that's just for, maybe an office worker. But if you're in the field, that easily doubles. So you're talking about a full bottle of water at least once an hour to keep your hydration up. And as the body sweats, it cools. And another key factor to that is your diet. You can drink all the water you want, but if you don't have the minerals in your body, the necessary minerals, the salts and things like that, the electrolytes, your body can't use that. Your body doesn't have the ability to use that water. It needs those electrolytes, and those electrolytes come through your diet. So that's why I'm always encouraging you to have a good diet, a mix of protein and carbohydrate, fruits maybe in the morning. And I know y'all don't believe it, but I try to watch my diet, and I own up when I make them, have a weak moment like this morning when I had that old coffee cake thing. I was at the grocery store. I bought that thing, and I couldn't resist with a glass of milk. So, yeah, I'm still yawning. It's 5:20 in the morning. If you're up already and you ain't yawning, you a Superman or something wrong with you. But anyway, out there moving, just think how wide awake you'll be in an hour when you get to the job site and you start dealing with the guys. Especially if you're listening to me getting motivated, right? But guys, this heat related stuff, you gotta keep a eye on your men. If they're out there working and all of a sudden one of them, you notice he ain't sweating, you need to check on him, because he ain't working or he's getting sick in the heat. So let me put this back. Let's see if I can put this back up for you. Heat-related illness is preventable, especially with management commitment to providing the most effective controls. Workers who have not spent time recently in warm or hot environments and or being physically active will need time to build tolerance. Acclimatize, or less frequently used acclimate, to the heat during the first few days in warm or hot environments. Now, if you're in the same geographical location and you've been there for a while, and you're probably already acclimating just to your daily activities. However, if you're used to working in, say, Charlotte or Asheville or maybe Atlanta, and then you go to Mesa, Arizona, or Houston, Texas, and you go down to those places, man, the humidity's way up. Or out west where there's very little humidity and hotter than all get outs, you may not be accustomed to that, and your body is going to go into preservation mode, trying to cool off, trying to figure out how to, and if you don't give it the things that it needs to maintain its body temperature, you're going to get sick. And a heat-related illness can really be a bad thing. So concentrate on talking with your guys about heat-related illnesses this morning. Making sure that they're checked. You got 3 types. Is it 3 types? You got heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and heat cramps. And heat exhaustion, heat cramps, and heat stroke. And you got to get those. You got to make sure your guys understand that, so that they can be on the lookout for their own health and for the health of others. Let's see. Yeah, here's some personal risk factors. So if you're looking at your men out there, you're looking at your co-workers, if they're like me, they're fat, overweight, they could have diabetes, high blood pressure, a heart disease, and you don't know this until you know your men. There's nothing wrong with saying, hey man, you all right? What's your, all these kind of things. You get to know your guys and their habits, and it helps you keep a idea out for them. And here's some physiological monitoring. Workers' bodies produce automatic responses to cope with heat stress. Heat rate increases, sweating becomes more profuse. Eventually, skin temperature and core body temperature rise. Some physiological responses can be measured by workers or employees. Physiological monitoring has several advantages over the method of monitoring heat stresses. Physiological responses provide a direct and individualized measurement of each worker's response to heat stress. Physiological measurements can be used to monitor the worker's level of heat tolerance. Impermeable clothing, such as chemical protective suits. I've had guys working in 100-degree weather in chemical suits, and boy, I think they had a 20-minute work cycle. I had 3 teams, and they would rotate in and out. And you would have a team working, and I mean, they had respirators, chemical suits, and they would work 20 minutes, and I'd bring them out and send them into the cooling room. I didn't necessarily have them disrobe, but they could open up that suit and take off the hood and the mask and all that, and the space was air conditioned so they could kind of cool down quickly. And then the new team went in, and then the team that would go in next would be getting ready. So they actually got like a 40-minute rest period with a 20-minute work cycle. But within that 20-minute or 40-minute rest period, they were doffing their protective equipment and cooling down, and then after after 20 minutes or so, they'd have to start donning it back on and getting ready and checking everybody's equipment before they went back to work. But that's the way that cycle went. But that's because we were measuring the heat and the worker's tolerance. Now, and other times it could be 100 degrees out there, as well as your guys are well hydrated and humidity's not high. They can, go a pretty good long time without having to. You just have to make a judgment by watching their body, see how they're sweating. Maybe sometimes check their temperatures with thermometers and all that. But it's real interesting. Just make sure that, here's the key takeaway. Let me go back to the screen. Here's the key takeaway during to prevent heat stress is make sure you have a well-balanced diet and have adequate amounts of water. And man, you need to reduce those Red Bulls and energy drinks and coffee and all that stuff, because they contain high amounts of caffeine, which is a diuretic, which means it makes you pee. Well, then you're liquidating, or you're removing a great deal of your water content because of the caffeine that these energy drinks and coffee have in them. So you might want to keep a check on the energy drinks. And Gatorade, Gatorade's fine, I guess, but sometimes it's got sugars in it, and also the electrolytes. It's got a lot in it, and if you're not drinking enough water along with those electrolytes, then you could have a buildup of those electrolytes in your body, which could have some adverse effects. So I guess I need to do a video about that and publish it on the safety channel. I think I will. Make a note here. Glad I talked to you guys this morning. Heat-related injuries. Look, y'all get the first stuff there. All right. And I normally have this. I usually make this video once a year, and I've got probably several of them on the old safety YouTube channel, Middleclassbubba. MCB Ventures, you call it now. But yeah, make sure you keep an eye out. If you have any questions on that, get with me and I'll get you some resources. Send me a note. And then this week we also talked about holes in hole covers. Well, I'm trying to use the website here, put something up for you. Let's just go to the OSHA and see if I can get anything. All right, that doesn't help. Let's see if I can go to the Department of Labor. All right. Yeah, I'm just piddling around now. I can't get myself squared away. Topics. Not Don't let me search. All right. All right. All right. I got this past week we talked about holes and floor openings. Let's see, topics. All right. I tell you what, guys, I should have been better prepared, but falls. Let's get holes. Flooring. Flavoring. I'm looking for a damn search thing so I can search it, but heck, I can't. I'm trying to figure out. That's the A to Z index menu. Let's go to search. Holes and floor openings. That's what I did the last one on, holes and floor openings. And that's covered in, I'm looking for it in construction. Anyway, the responsibility is holes in floor openings. If a hole, let me get a tape measure, 2 inches. Dang. This distance right here from here to here, here to here, is 2 inches. And the standard says any hole that has a 2-inch dimension in any direction must be protected. Not necessarily against you falling through it, but there's also dropped object concerns. You know, a piece of concrete 2 inches or 1 inch by 1 inch falls to another level and hits somebody, it could hurt them, or a wrench or a piece of angle iron or anything like that could go through that small opening and strike somebody on the level below and injure them. And the best way I covered those in the past was take a piece of 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch you really don't need on that, but you could get by with a 1/2 inch piece of plywood cut into a square, and then you take a 2x2 or a peg and nail to the bottom and drop it on in that hole, and it won't move, and then just write hole on that, and that secures it against movement, and it's easily removable. But then when you get bigger, you got to actually cover it with something that can support the intended weight, and that would include equipment. You know, if you had to roll a skid steer across it or a scissor lift across it, it'd have to be substantial enough to support that scissor lift and the load that scissor lift is carrying, and it has to be marked and secured. And if it gets, like an elevator shaft opening, then you need to go with a barricade, with the toe boards and fully built out barricade to protect that floor opening. In the demolition business, and you use them as gantryways in construction where you got material coming in up and down out of them, using a lull or a forklift or whatever, and you can lift those things out and put delivery, but they could have a gantry but they need to protect against somebody stepping into that hole. Anyway, if you want to see the video on that, go to my safety channel, Middleclassbubba, YouTube, and I think I've got 200 or 300 safety videos on there and some leadership stuff. But anyway, that was the thing that we covered this week. Holes and floor openings. So if you got something you need to talk about this morning at your safety meeting, you can either talk about heat illnesses, or you can talk about holes in floor openings. Maybe one of them the heat would be applicable to any job, but if you got a job site where there's a bunch of floor openings, you can cover both of them. Put one of them in the PTP and the other as a safety topic. But make sure you talk about them. Not necessarily today, but one of your subjects that you can talk about as time goes on. But we're getting ready to go to work. Everybody's standing around at the Quick Trip right now, getting a cup of coffee, paying how much? $2, 25 cents, maybe 35 cents for both of these. And I'll have coffee all day. So do the math. If you work 20 days a month or 100, 50 weeks a year, you can do the math, and you could almost afford an automobile after a couple of years. Get you a good used automobile for the money you're spending at the Quick Trip. Now, Quick Trip has the right to make money, but which is more important, your financial health or getting back and forth to work? We're not out here just to work and pay bills. We're out here to have a decent life and to live and to be creative in our own fashion as a human being. So the more resources you can put into yourself being happy, the better human being you'll be for your children, your family, your community. So keep that kind of stuff in mind when you talk about it's only $2 or it's only $5. Anyway, there we go. I hope everybody's doing well. Everybody's family doing well. Anybody kids in sports? I got kids and grandkids now, excuse me. Grandkids in soccer and softball, and one of them, he's 4. He's figuring his way, but boy, man, whew, a 4-year-old boy, good Lord, man. If you see so many of them hemmed up and not burning off that energy, and then they're wanting to put them on drugs because they're misbehaving in school, and they're calling it ADHD or autism or any of that crap. Hell, a lot of it's just a little boy got too much energy and can't get it out. Little boys, man, they need to be wide open. They just need to go as hard and as fast as they can until they're at the point of exhaustion, and then they'll stop naturally and rest. And that's what little boys need to do. Now, little girls, they're a little different. They got a different approach and different outlook and different physiology and all that stuff. But these little boys, man, you need to get them out of the bed and get them out the door and get them buffaloing and running. Anyway, that's what you got to do. Make them happy. Make them healthy and happy. And watch that darn food you feed them, man. You let a little old kid come in the house, and you like to have a treat for them, but man, that's all they'll ask for. Can I have a snack? Can I have a snack? Can I have a snack? And then they won't eat. They won't eat their dinner of meat and fresh vegetables, but the minute you finally go, okay, get down, I'm tired of dealing with you, the first thing words out of their mouth is, can I have a snack? No, you can't. You can have a bologna sandwich or something, but no, you ain't eating no sugar loading. Anyway, same way with us, but we're responsible for our own health and what we eat and how we take care of ourselves. We don't have a mom and dad or grandma and grandpa they'll say something. My dad will say something to me if he sees me doing something crazy. He's 80. My dad will be 86 years old this June. I went and visited him this weekend. But anyway, that's for another time and another place. So, yeah, guys, floor holes and openings, make sure you're looking out for those in the heat. Even if supervisors, you're responsible for that, but co-workers, look out for your buddy. Look out for your supervisor. If he ain't talking to you about it, he ain't paying no attention to it, he could be the first one to go down. I've been on a job site standing there with the project manager, with the division manager, and they just go out, lock up and go down, man, right there. It could be a combination of stress, dehydration, diet, and all that stuff, but their body just goes, and they go out. They stand in and lock their legs, and, in the military, they teach you to, kind of keep your knees flexed a little bit and kind of move your legs a little bit when you're standing at attention, because sometimes if you're doing a parade or something, you're locked up at parade rest for quite a while through a speech or something, and it could be hotter than hell or colder than hell, and there you are. And one man going down in a formation, he could take 2 or 3 dudes with him, because they don't know, and all of a sudden they get whacked by a 180-pound, 200-pound dude falling, and they don't see it coming. They're wondering what in the heck is going on when there's 3 or 4 of them laying on the ground because one dude went out. Anyway, I'll be careful. And what's the everybody busy out there? Is there anybody out there wishing they had work? I live in a small community, man. They built in a new racetrack. I went by there the other morning. There's some dudes standing around outside there, and I was going, oh my goodness. I hadn't seen that in a long time. Down the city, you see it pretty regular, but I guess that's the best way, if you're willing to work, to stand outside the QT, because that's where all the contractors are going every morning to get their fuel and their ice and their drinks and their coffee and their sweet buns and hot dogs or whatever they're getting going. I guess if you wanted work, I wonder if I could do that. See an old white fat guy standing there. Get me a sign. We'll work for Honey Bun. We'll work for a honey bun. Anyway, let's see. I don't see anybody looking at me this morning, but look, I'm out here anyway. I'm here early this morning and motivated myself to do this, and maybe eventually I'll get some viewers in here and the content will improve, but none of that'll happen if you ain't doing it. If you ain't making the effort, none of that stuff's going to happen. And I may be the type where nobody ever wants to pay attention to me, but I'm still having a good time, and I look forward to the day when you old boys out there tune in and give me comments back, tell me I'm an idiot or whatever. At least we can have fun while you're going to work on Monday morning, start your work out in a good way, right? supporting one another, encouraging one another, and helping us have a, a good work day, good work week, and supporting and promoting one another. That's the main reason I'm doing this. So I'll continue on, and I just throw in safety as a filler. If somebody has another thing they want to, if they, if a comment pops up and they pop in a subject, hey, what about this? And, or I think this is stupid. And then we can talk about it. I don't, just, share the information. But I'm sure glad I'm here this morning. I get to drink a little coffee. So what's the market like? A lot of busyness? Y'all got a lot of backlogs? People working out there today? What's your company doing? They got a lot of work. They putting a lot of men to work. They treating you well. They getting you paid on time. They giving you t-shirts and hats. Man, that was always so much. I got t-shirts and hats from decades ago. I never wore them because I always felt like I had to have a button down shirt and all that stuff. And but I always collected them. And man, I got a wall of hats in there from different people and different periods of time and different places I worked. I need a cough button on this. Well, yeah. What else can we talk about? We talked about getting motivated. Yeah, how about how many of you are out there? You got to pick up a bunch of guys. You drive a company truck, and since you get the privilege of driving a company truck, you have to pick up 5 or 6 guys and get them to work every day. How many of you out there are doing that? I've had to do that in the past when I was a young man, and boy, it just used to, you pull up to Buddy's house and he ain't ready. First 2 days on the job, he's finally got a job, but after he gets that first paycheck, man, you hear you roll up to his trailer or house or whatever, and you hear his old lady screaming at him, "Get up, they're here to get you." And he comes running out, ain't got nothing on but his clothes. And then 2 or 3 guys, you do that, and then you got to get fuel, so you wheel into the old Quick Trip, and they pile out, and they're standing in line, and you done got fuel, and there you are waiting on them again. You're darn lucky to get to the job site at 7 o'clock. If I'm on that job, you dang sure better be there at 7 o'clock. If I got there at 6 o'clock and I done got all the paperwork ready and I'm dancing around ready to get started, and I always those guys that got there on time, and the rule was that when those who were supposed to be there showed up, whether it was 1 minute late or 10 minutes late, everybody was to look at their watch at the same time and look at them and look back at their watch. Whether you had a watch on or not, that's what you're supposed to do. And it normally didn't take long for everybody to show up a minute or 2 before start time. Sometimes they got there 10 minutes early or 15 minutes early, and we'd josh around and shoot the breeze. But boy, you don't want about 15 guys standing around doing like this when you're walking on the job site. That's called peer pressure. Peer pressure is one of the most effective things, one of the most effective tools a man has in his toolbox. If he can use that peer pressure, that's a good one. Use the peer pressure. But if you're going to do that, you better be Johnny on the spot before you start using that old peer pressure stuff. You can't say nothing if you ain't consistent. And that is one thing that over the years I've determined is very important, is consistency. If you're going to give a guy a ride to work, you need to let him know you're going to be here at this time and you will be leaving at 5 minutes past that time. Heard a wealthy man one time, I don't remember who it was. He says, I will wait 5 minutes for anybody, but I'll wait 6 minutes for nobody. So it was, there was some leeway there, but you got to draw a line, man. You got to draw a line. You got to hold it accountable. So, yeah, consistency. And then on the job site, you can't have a PTP meeting or a safety meeting 10 minutes to 7 one week and then 10 minutes after 7 the next week. You just can't do it. You got to be on time. They got to know that if it's 7 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock every week or every day. 7 o'clock. Not 7:05, not 6:55, but 7 o'clock is start time. You need to be there for that. It's good that you're there 10 minutes early. We can get to know each other and all that and develop our relationships. But and we can still develop our relationships if you're late. It's just not going to be as interesting or as productive. So, because I'm going to be wanting to know why you're not there at 7 o'clock and I got 15 guys waiting 5 minutes on 2 guys. A dime holding up $1, as my dad used to say. Somebody used to say that. There we are, a dime holding up $1. Anyway. So here we are. Got about 7 minutes left. Still don't see anybody looking, but I'm out here talking about it. And how about these old job sites, man? I've worked at big places, and it's always a pain. You can't park on site. You got contractor parking. It's a quarter mile away, and then you got to walk the distance. You could drive in and drop off tools and stuff, but you couldn't park there. Man, that's what you use that new guy for. Hey, go out of the truck and get this Sawzall. Go out of the truck and get this grinder. Go out of the truck and get a 5/16. Go out of the truck. Oh, boy. Reminds me of a story one time. They had what was it? I think it was a Sawzall, and it quit working. And I said, well, get it off the site if it ain't working so it quits being grabbed and wasting other people's time. I said, take it to the truck. And I said, before you take it to the truck, take some tape, danger tape or something around it and write on there in-op and put it in the truck and bring another one. Well, they took it to the truck, but they didn't write nothing on it, and I recognized the darn thing. And they sent an old boy down there to get a Sawzall, and he came back with that darn thing busted. And I saw it, and I said, that thing ain't gonna work, man. It's broke. The old boy don't walked a half a mile or better to go get that thing. He was mad. Plug it up then. It wouldn't work. Oh, matter in all hell, boy. I watched him. We was on like 23rd floor. Elevators weren't working. Well, they had a service elevator, but it was used for trash removal. You'd have to wait on it and catch a ride or whatever. But I saw him walk back across the parking lot way out there. The contractor walking, he's cussing the whole time. And he did put red tape on it that time. Another story, going back to that floor opening business. They had, they were putting in some kind of gantry way or duct work or something in the floor. And this was maybe on the 5th floor. And there was a big floor opening there. And they used a piece of plywood to cover it. They didn't write nothing on it, nothing. And supervisor from a couple floors up told one of his workers he needed a piece of plywood to cover another floor opening. And the young guy, he went down there and he saw that laying on the floor, and he lifted it up and went to walk under it, walked right in that hole and fell down to the next level. He was a young man. He caught it and got pinched and bruised in a couple different places when when he stepped in, he went and he kind of grabbed the plywood and had a pinch, and it did some damage to one of his hands where it got. Thank God that plywood caught him, because if he wouldn't have slowed that stop, he'd have went on down there. But that was a good example. We stopped work that day and we had a long conversation about that, holes and how to properly secure them and mark them and all that. And this is why you do it. Matter of fact, shut the whole job down and had a safety meeting on it. That was crazy, man. That guy could have been killed. But anyway, another cautionary tale about floor openings. Got about a couple minutes left. I hope everybody has a wonderful day out there. I appreciate you getting out there and doing your work. I don't care if you're laying block or brick, or you're doing framing, or you're doing siding, roofing, glazing, plumbing, electrical work. Man, I sure appreciate you guys getting out there and hustling and making a livelihood for you and your family, your community. I sure do appreciate that. And I want you to go home safe every day. I want you to be with your family and your buds, whether it's Monday night football that you're looking forward to, or going home and just getting a shower and relaxing with you, playing with your kids. That's what you should be doing. And I appreciate you getting out there and working and producing and building something, or renovating something, or making something useful again. That's what you're doing. You're making something useful. You're building something. Or if you're in the demolition business, you're renewing. You're making something new again. And that's something you should take pride in your daily work. And also educate yourself to the next level. If you've got a job and you're a young man just out of high school, or even if you're just out of college and you're out there, and do the best job you can with what you're doing right then, and then educate yourself to the next level. Anyway, we're out of time this morning. It doesn't look like I had anybody stop by and watch the stream, but if you flip through and you see this, make sure to try and participate next Monday morning at 5 a.m. Anyway, got to sign off. More than anything, have a grateful day, and we'll see you next time.